Hi, in this video I'm going to walk you through an example of code that pulls the GPS location from the phone and loads a Google map with that latitude and longitude which is returned by the GPS sensor of the phone. So as you see, I'm using that typical template of mine. So I have actually one only page with a header and a content, and a list view with one item and a footer. So just to show you how simple that first screen is, I'm gonna preview it right here. So you see that basically it's one list view item, which when the user clicks that one, loads another HTML page, the location.html, and in that the Google map will be displayed. Before that, we're gonna pull the latitude and longitude from the phone's GPS sensor. So let me walk you through the code. You can find actually in a zip file the code if you look just below in the description of this video. So once actually the user clicks this link right here, then this event is gonna load up. So the event which starts in line 18, which basically says that when there is a page loading, well, in our case we only have one page that's going to load, so we don't need to check whether there are different pages that are loading, then execute. So again, when there is a page loading, then execute this function, get location. Now this function is actually included in this file right here in inc.js. So let's have a look what happens in inc.js. I can quickly use this menu from Dreamweaver in order to see the file. So there is our function, the get location, and here basically there is only one line of code which defines what needs to be done. And this is part of the PhoneGap framework. So this object right here, so the navigator object, belongs to the PhoneGap API. And what this line of code actually does is basically it gets that current position from the GPS sensor, and here then it triggers either this function, the onSuccess function, which is defined here on line 7, or the onError function, which is defined here on line 30. So again, this line of code, which belongs in the PhoneGap API, pulls the latitude and longitude from the GPS sensor and executes either the onSuccess function, which is defined right here, and we're going to see it in a while, or the onError function, which is defined right here. So let's see what happens in the onSuccess function. In other words, when this code was successful in pulling the latitude and longitudes from the GPS sensor of the phone, then do this stuff right here in this function. So this function basically has one attribute, the position, and here we are getting that latitude and longitude which I was mentioning from the GPS sensor, and we are storing it into these two variables. And from then on, this code right here, we visited that in a previous video where we saw how to load a Google map. Instead of then loading a map with static latitude and longitude, the latitude and actually longitude is going to be taken from the GPS sensor. And when there is error in getting that current position, then we're just going to show the error code and the message to the user. And this map, as you can see, it is displayed on this div with ID map-canvas, and that is found in the location.html. So if we would go to the location.html, we're gonna see that I have here included a div with an ID of map canvas. So this is exactly as it was in the previous video where we worked with Google Maps. So to wrap it up for you, what we saw was an example right here of how to get the latitude and longitude from the GPS sensor of the phone and how to use that in order to load a Google map. Now, if you there are several other sensors that the PhoneGap API helps you to use. So we saw only one, which is this one, the geolocation. You're gonna find all the different sensors that you could access with PhoneGap on docs.phonegap.com. That's the API reference, so you can see that you can actually get the accelerometer if your phone has an accelerometer. You can actually use the camera in order to turn on the camera and take a photo, for example. So let's see that example. So as you can see here in the documentation, there is extensive actually documentation on how to use it, with also examples on how to actually use in order to trigger the camera. And that's it for this video.